also Cheapskate, Bob Magnus. Over here, where you see that power adapter is where this camera that I'm videotaping this with is hooked up, and this camera feeds the footage into the 3/4 inch recorder. This 3/4 inch player we use just to rewind, and here's the wonderful Panasonic that has done so much work. Now over here we're making a dub. If the two pieces of equipment that we used to have in there had not been stolen, we could have had the dub here, and it would have been all done. This is the Patchwork by Linda Brecker. This is the edit controller, Sony edit controller, and that's the audio. And that's the front of the Super VHS player and the Super VHS recorder. That's my junction box, and it goes into that system. We had a party because this is our Mickey. This is Franklin enjoying the party. There is the character generator, and this we are making a dub. And there was a Super VHS here, but it's been robbed. Thanks, Mr. Magnus, and behind there was a 3/4 inch player, but it isn't hooked up to the audio. Thanks, Daryl. And those are the various cables. This is our party. State court officer is hiding behind the building. This is a storage room here that used to be the dead end for White Plate. That is so clear. And I miss Franco DeRose. This is one of the TV cameras. The Sony TV camera. I remember when those came in new. This is another Sony camera, and somebody got this too close to the light and ruined it, melted it. This is the very bleak set. TCI always could have done better on a nicer set. My tape looks a little funny. It's because I'm low on the battery power and the battery keeps shutting off. These are the great big lights. And look at the size of that light bulb. When I started out in TV, we used to have so many lights because the cameras didn't have the light capacity that they do now. So this is the end. This was nice back in the good old days, before Cheapskate, Bob Magnus, and before Cheapskate, John Paul. I remember Bob Osnoff made this shelf and this coat rack for me. Now I just show you down the hall, and I'm going to show you outdoors.
I would like your happy vote. My phone number is 923-5821. Area code 202. Address 90 Laurel Hill Terrace, New York, New York. 10033. Message 4/7/22 p.m. Sunday, January 1. Investigator Frederick Hamilton, New York State Police. Phone number is 914-769-2600. Reference to 11 at the governor's office. Thank you. Message 5/10/24 p.m. Sunday, January 1. Message 6/10/32 p.m. Sunday, January 1. Message 7/10/40 p.m. Sunday, January 1. Complete message. I will message 9/1/13 a.m. Monday, January 2. My name is Richie. My number is 1. And the message is something must be going down cable vision because of the response that I got about a question today. Give me a call when you get a chance at 516-731-7676. Message 10/5 a.m. Tuesday.
Mr. Glendora, Mr. Jones. I'm at 598-8280, area code 516, and I'm calling regarding your show on that Access Network. I'm wondering why we can't get it on Cablevision of Long Island. So please tell me that. I'd like that you, I heard about your show for a friend, and it was interesting. Thanks.
Message 13:5:14 a.m. Tuesday, January 3. Happy Liberty. August 30. 30. Place. Homepage. DLPIAGUA. August 117. Message Tuesday, January 3. Process. BWESE 3 Fairmont Street, Huntington, New York 11743. Fairmont FAIRMON. Please send me my door happy. Thank you. Tuesday, January 3. Tuesday, January 3.
Hi, I would love one of your free happy books. My name is Marty, N-A-R-C-Y, Saybrook, S-A-Y-B-R-O-O-K. My address is 1063 Thomas Avenue, Baldwin, B-A-L-D-W-I-N, New York, 11510. You rock, you're the best. Thanks for entertaining us.
Thank you.
Message 13:5:22 a.m. Tuesday, January 3.
Hi, I know you said.
Message 20:5:23 a.m. Tuesday, January 3.
My name is Alex Zoppa, Z-O-P-P-A. Address 1989 Bay Boulevard, Atlantic Beach, New York, 11509. Phone number 516-239-3554. Thanks.
Message 21:5:25 a.m. Tuesday, January 3.
You correct us.
Folks, these people didn't call at 5:25 a.m. Sunday morning and all that. All of these calls came in, the first couple came in Thursday and Friday at daytime calls, and then the other ones came in from November the 2nd, 1996, Friday night, from a chat with Glendora, which was cablecast on Cablevision Systems of Long Island, the Woodbury system, the one that covers Nassau, Huntington, Islip, and Babylon. It's just that I didn't have time to set the clock. So they called all at good times, and the Friday night calls, of course, were all between 10 and 10:30 p.m. because that's when the program is on. 10 and 10:30 p.m. Friday nights, Channel 25. So we will send out these happy books. Let's fade out. What do you think? Do you like the name Oscar Bryant? Bryan, Oscar Bryan. Is that a good name for him? Oscar's kind of a nice name, and then Bryan, I named him after the two kitties of Brian Susterman, who suffered and died in the year 1996, one in February and one in October. Brian was good to his kitties, and they were 16, 17 years old, and they were brothers, and they just got old and they died, and there was a lot of pain. So let's name this little kitten after those two brave kittens. Oscar Bryan. I think he's 11 weeks old, isn't he? Wasn't he 10 weeks last week? Middle of August, middle of October, middle of November? No, middle of August, middle of September, middle of October, and yes, This is like the first full week of November. You're quite a hit in Long Island, you know that? You have quite a following. Oscar Bryan. Is that your name? Is that a good name for you? Is that a good name for you? Do you like that name, Oscar Bryan? You got awful cute face. Yeah, you got cute face. Yeah, cute face. Well, they say what you, there's not much to see in a small town, but what you hear makes up for it. And the minister told the woman that you mustn't say anything about anybody unless it's good. And she says, boy, this is good. And did you know that computers are in the Bible? Yes. Eve said to Adam, do you want an apple too? And baseball is in the Bible too, in the big inning. And the kitty cat has gone off to other adventures. Well, there's so much to report to you this week, I don't think we can get it all in, but last week I left off telling you about the case of Julie Kessler versus News 12 Patrick Dolan. If you recall, Julie Kessler was very brave. She blew the whistle on News 12 Patrick Dolan for sexual harassment and also for failure to pay reporters overtime. And the Labor Board ruled in Julie Kessler's favor, and then she claims that Patrick Dolan was viciously retaliatory to the point where Julie Kessler broke down, was carried away in an ambulance, and while she was down, Patrick Dolan had somebody call and tell her that she was fired. And this happened on or about May 1994, and then the lawsuit was filed in August of 1994. And let's see if I can find the docket in the county clerk's office in Nassau is not that good. Let's see. I think that defendant's reply and motion to dismiss was somewhere in the first week of October, and I believe Kessler responded to their motion to dismiss with a reply affidavit sometime in November, and then there was a defendant's reply memorandum of law, and that was long about January 20th, 1995, and January 24th, 1995. There was a reply memorandum of law in support of defendant's motion to dismiss. And on February 1st, defendant's reply memorandum of law in response to plaintiff's reply memorandum of law. And on Groundhog Day, 1995, there was a reply memorandum of law in opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss. And then it goes on. And on May the 8th, 1995, Sandra Feuerstein, Justice of the Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Nassau, ruled. Apparently, her ruling was to the disliking of Patrick Dolan because the ruling was appealed in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, Appellate Division, 2nd Department. And there's a notice of entry of same. Now that means we would have to go to another court, and we would have to look up that case down in Brooklyn. And I'm just not so sure that I have all that amount of time to get down there and do that. Do you? Can you go do that, to go to Brooklyn and look up that case? Well, you don't look very intelligent about it. And November 7th was the time that a defendant shall receive plaintiff's answer papers by November 30th. Just a second, please. That was the Reverend Stuart Sandberg, who had a public access show on holistic health, which was very much needed, and he was robbed of that by John Malone, Bob Magnus, and Telecommunications Incorporated. So where were we? On December the 21st, 1995, was a note that plaintiff will receive the papers from the defendant on January 23rd, and on February the 2nd, Groundhog Day, I think that's a misentry. I withdraw that. Anyway, the paper that I want doesn't pop up. In May of 1996, there was a settlement. Now, I don't see how this settlement can be legal because there's no date. It's just May blank 1996. But where that will go and what will happen on that, we don't know. But she must have had the goods. Patrick Dolan would never have settled unless he was obviously losing. And he was obviously losing because it was settled. As for second claim for relief, plaintiff repeats and realleges, yes, the above acts and practices of defendants constitute unlawful retaliatory practices within the meaning of sections 81076, 81077, and 81013 of the Administrative Code. Defendant's conduct was willful and malicious. Defendant in this case is Patrick Dolan, News 12. As a result of defendant's retaliatory acts, Julie Kessler has suffered and will continue to suffer irreparable injury, monetary damage, and damages from mental anguish, emotional distress, and humiliation unless and until this court grants relief. Third claim for relief, Julie Kessler repeats and realleges, so forth. The above acts and practices of defendants, Patrick Dolan, News 12, constitute unlawful retaliation, the meaning of Section 215A3 of FSLA. Patrick Dolan's News 12 conduct was willful and malicious. As a result of defendant's retaliatory acts, plaintiff has suffered and will continue to suffer irreparable injury, monetary damages, and so forth. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff Julie Kessler respectfully requests that this court enter judgment declaring that the acts and practices complained of herein are in violation of the Executive Law, the Administrative Code, and FSLA, directing defendants to place plaintiff in the position that she would have occupied but for defendant's retaliatory actions. I know she never got that because she doesn't work there anymore. I've called up to see. And make Julie Kessler whole for all earnings she would have received but for defendant's retaliatory actions. Defendant is Patrick Dolan, News 12. Including but not limited to wages, bonuses, pensions, and other lost benefits, directing that Patrick Dolan, News 12, pay plaintiff compensatory damages for her mental anguish and humiliation, directing that Patrick Dolan, News 12, pay Julie Kessler liquidated damages for her lost wages, directing that Patrick Dolan, News 12, pay Julie Kessler punitive damages, indeed, for its intentional disregard of and/or reckless indifference to Julie Kessler's statutory rights, awarding Kessler the cost of this action, together with reasonable attorney's fees and prejudgment interest, and granting such other and further relief as this court deems necessary and proper. The lawyers for Julie Kessler is a New York firm, Vladeck, Wallman, Elias, Engelhard, 1501 Broadway. They won't come to the telephone. The lawyers for Dolan, Patrick Dolan, and News 12, Englander and Albert in right there in Mineola on Old Country Road, and they won't come to the phone. Now, in relation to that, we have a notice that posted by order of the National Labor Relations Board, an agency of the United States government, that the National Labor Relations Board has found that News 12 has violated the National Labor Relations Act and has ordered News 12 to post and abide by this notice. saying that News 12 will not threaten to lay off any of their employees because of their activities in behalf of or interest in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW. That News 12 will not interrogate its employees concerning their membership in and activities in behalf of and sympathies for the IBEW, or about the union membership, activities, and sympathies of other employees. That News 12 will not promise their employees a wage increase and other benefits of the employees if the employees reject the IBEW as their bargaining representative. That News 12 will not disparately enforce and apply a rule prohibiting the placement of union literature in employees' mailboxes while permitting the placement of non-union literature. That News 12 will not solicit employee complaints and grievances, and by doing so impliedly promise their employees that they would resolve their complaints and grievances to the employee's satisfaction. That News 12 tell its employees that we are withholding, the National Labor Relations Board, withholding a large wage increase because of the IBEW. That News 12 is withholding it, and that News 12 will not inform its employees that it would be futile for them to select the IBEW as their bargaining representative. That News 12 threatened the employees with the imposition of more onerous working conditions if they selected the IBEW as their bargaining representative. And News 12 will not threaten to close the facility of the employees if they select the IBEW as their representative, and will not in any like or related manner interfere with, restrain, or coerce its employees in the exercise of the rights guaranteed them by Section 7 of the Act. National Labor Relations Board, an agency of the United States government, Rainbow News 12 and Rainbow Network Communications Incorporated, subsidiaries of Rainbow Programming Holdings Corporation, Rainbow Programming Holdings Corporation, and Cablevision Systems Corporation, employer. So we will have to see what the defendants say about what I just told you Julie Kessler said about them. Then we'll have to tell you what her reply affidavit said. Then we'll have to tell you what the judge said. And as far as the appellate division, you go down and look that up for me, would you please? And then you know the rest. It was settled. And we haven't had any jokes, much. Why do firemen always have a Dalmatian dog? Get up on the fire truck so that the dog can go ahead and find the fire hydrant. And this drink is named after the United States economy, soft. And you heard about the little tailor? Oh, he was so poor. And his rabbi said, you must take the Lord as your partner. So the little tailor took the Lord as his partner, and in no time at all, he had trucks going in every direction. He says, look, there's one of our trucks there. There goes another truck of ours right there. And look, there's another truck of ours right there. Lord and Taylor.
You always go to sleep in my pew.
He always goes to sleep right at my feet. It's the cutest thing. Until you forget that he's there and trip over him. He is so sleepy right now. Oh, he is so sleepy. He is so sleepy. Oh. There is really so much to report to you that I can't, as they say down south, and as Billy Graham says, I can't get it all in. I do want to call your attention to the 6-page article on from Newsday on the Nassau County Board of Elections. I have already reported to you how bad this agency is, and I've been reporting it to you since, well, let's see, this is November. I was reporting it to you in October and in September, and I think all summer long. And the Newsday challenges the danger that their ineptitude, the Board of Elections, is interfering with the integrity of elections. Now that's pretty bad. And it says that it's error-ridden and that even illegal voting is happening, and that the State Board of Elections is sort of disgusted with them, and that the commissioners get $98,000 a year and they don't show up for work. They don't fill out timesheets. They don't let the public know when they're there and what days they're there. And Newsday followed one of them and found out that one of the election commissioners was upstate at a trial having to do with his lumber company, and that he was gone for 3 or 4 days in a row. That the Nassau taxpayers on a per voter basis pay almost twice as much as Westchester taxpayers do for the Board of Elections. There's the embarrassment about Joe Cairo, who I'll read to you about him later, and that they don't have any who I'll read to you about him later, and that they don't have any computer technology, and that they use cumbersome registration cards, the buff cards. You have seen that when you go vote and you sign it, and that they're wearing out, and that they're taped together and paper clipped together. And it could have, computer technology would have helped to reduce voting abuses. And there are terrible stories here that are told. David Levy of Baldwin is mentioned, and that's just page 1. Now there's 5 more pages of this. I'll just cover the second one this week, and then next week we'll take a look at the couple of more. And says that Republican Deputy Commissioner Carol DeMauro Busqueta, if she's the Carol I met, she's very, very nice, and she was very, very helpful, and I liked her. Anyway, she says it's widely acknowledged that she's widely acknowledged to be the strongest manager at the board. But when I call up to try to speak to her, I am never put through, and when I go there in person to speak to her, I am never able to see her. There was the mix-up with the Levy-Brewington primaries, you remember that, and that this has long been regarded as a political plum. There's $96,000 a year for the Democratic commissioner and for the Republican commissioner, and that they don't have to show. And oh, I told you that Newsday tracked one of them and found out where they went, and they left at 2:30 and never to be seen again that day. The previous Republican commissioner, GOP executive leader Cairo, was under investigation by the Nassau Bar Association for diverting client funds to his own accounts when he was appointed Republican Elections Commissioner in January of 1994. He resigned 20 months later after being disbarred. So when Robert Berry gives me a hard time and acts deceitfully, I ask, where is Joseph Cairo? $1.9 million, Newsday says, was appropriated by the Nassau County Legislature for computers for the Board of Elections, but that Galata put this on hold. The intimation is that this helps the political patronage of the Republican Party, and that they haul bulky volumes of these so-called buff cards instead of being on computers, and they haul these around, and they're getting worn out and banged up, or are worn out and banged up. So next week we'll talk about the next 3 pages. Next thing up is Telecare. I asked for information about Telecare. They would never send it to me. Franklin Buell asked for information about Telecare, and they finally sent it to him. And this information includes a time card, how you can buy airtime and pay for advertisements on Telecare. That shows you that Telecare is not a public access channel. You can't have any advertising in public access. That is forbidden. So here we are, have to share this channel 25 with Telecare, and we don't have our own freestanding public access channel. Rich Einhorn has some footage of myself and Rich going to One Media Crossways and chanting, "We want our own public access channel. No more share Telecare." Now, a bad thing happened there in Hauppauge, the Hauppauge system, which I believe is the old Viacom system. My program has started up there, and the first Friday night that it was on, which would be a couple of Friday nights ago, it was put on at 9:30 in place of Mother Angelica. And so I got a protest about that, and I think the woman is right. There should be Mother Angelica, and there should be a chat with Glendora. Mother Angelica should be on Telecare, and a chat with Glendora should be on a freestanding public access channel of our own. So Judy from Hauppauge called up my sponsor, Ray Jameson in Bayshore, and said that it was going to go on Friday night, November 1st at 9:30, but after that it would be on at 10 o'clock. And that would be better because that means that Glendora would be on Channel 5, 10 o'clock, everywhere. Well, that's not exactly true. And so Ray said, yes, go ahead and do it, and Glendora wasn't consulted, and that's not right either. And so I have a protest against that. I was taken off at 9:30 so that Telecare could do Mother Angelica at 9:30. And I like Mother Angelica. In fact, I like the whole Catholic channel. And I'm Protestant, but I like it because it is about God. And I like that. However, we have a principle here that we must have our own freestanding public access channel, and that the people in Nassau County and Long Island and the other Cablevision systems have not had their own public access channel, which they're due. And we have started up a robust movement, and there's a lot of us in it, and we are making waves. And we want, in these franchise renewals, we want our own public access channel, and we are entitled to that. This, as you know, is a Cablevision's investigation book, volume 2. I'm happy to say I've done all the reading. There's another article in Newsday I want to call your attention to, if you haven't seen it already, and that's Charles Dolan and James Dolan opening their loud mouths about 500 channels. Now, this is something that John Malone started, the chief executive of Telecommunications Incorporated, a company that is 4 times the size of Cablevision. It's about $7 billion, and Cablevision is about $2 billion. And I have sued John Malone 3 times. He's the worst we have in the whole country, the worst monopolist, and the worst betrayer to his country. And he was bragging way back in 1994, you saw it on the news, we're going to have 500 channels. Well, if we're going to have 500 channels, let's get going on it, and let's have our own free public access channel. So here you have James Dolan and Charles Dolan. Charles Dolan was a very good friend of Glendora. He was on a chat with Glendora. In around 1987, 1988, I played that interview for you a couple of times. And here you have them chopping about 500 channels. You also have the manager of the only non-Cablevision cable system in Long Island, TCI Brookhaven. I am on that system too. And that man that you see there is Robert Trott. Trot, trot to Boston, and trot, trot to Lynn. Trot, trot to Salem, and trot home again. And this is really sort of a frivolous story. It really doesn't have much point to it, and I guess it's just an excuse for Charles Dolan and James Dolan to have their pictures in Newsday. Pass on to you from a grandmother who was denied visiting rights to see her grandchildren, and so she has a bill in the Senate. Owen H. Johnson is the sponsor, and in the Assembly, Paul E. Herrenberg, and it's the Senate bill 6693, and the Assembly bill is 9447, domestic relations law, that a grandmother should be able to go see her grandchild, and she wants to take her grandchild on the Long Island Railroad. So we signed that paper and we sent it to her. Just a second, I'll show you her picture. Child lives in legal limbo. Prima facie, that seems like a terrible thing, that a grandmother cannot visit her grandchild. We have a report here from Americans for Legal Reform that appointments to the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, which is the worst court that we have. That's Thompson's crowd, and he's quoted in here quite often. That the Manhattan judges are picked for the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, which covers Nassau and Suffolk and Westchester and Rockland, and I believe Brooklyn and Queens. And see, lawyers themselves are a monopoly. They won't let other people do legal services. It's against the law in the state of New York to give legal advice unless you're a lawyer. Well, this isn't true, for instance, for accountants, right? We have CPAs like Henry Block, and we have CPAs at every corner who can make out income tax forms. But the lawyer monopoly persists, and you want to know why? Because the lawyers control the legislature. Do not vote for lawyers. And the lawyers control the courts. And you lose all your rights. The great United States, and you have lost all your rights. Here's something. 2 ex-judges and a lawyer are convicted of corruption. That happened in San Diego. That shows you the state of the courts. And remember our own chief judge, Saul Walkler, right out there on Supreme Court Drive in Mineola. Chief judge of the state of New York landed up in federal prison. That's how great the justice system is in the state of New York. New York Court of Appeals boots Nassau judge Mark Mulgill has been taken off of the New York State Court of Appeals. So you see how great our courts are? See, these are hollow black robes. Scrutiny of lawyers, an open or shut case. Now, if you were going to hire a lawyer, shouldn't you be entitled to a list of every complaint that was ever brought against that lawyer? Of course you should be. And a lawyer, if he is complained about, is examined in a closet. You are not allowed to see it, but everybody else, you're allowed to see it. And so this, it says here that Chief Judge Judith S. Kay and Chief Administrative Judge Jonathan Lippman, who lives in Rye, New York, are signing their power to examination of lawyers in open to the public, open to you. As I say, I got all of these papers from the Americans for Legal Reform. I went to their meeting, as I told you, on Tuesday night. It's the last Tuesday at the Sweet Hollow Library in Melville. And if you've ever had any problem with a lawyer, you go and see them. Go and talk to them. Carl Ancezera and Harvey Cash. I have here Andrew Hersman's letter and his Cablevision hate page, which is on the internet, and Andrew is filing a lawsuit in the Eastern District of the United States District Court to sue Cablevision's lawyers, or to sue Cablevision for infringement of his free speech rights. I've told you the money that comes into the Cablevision Political Action Committee and to whom that money is dispersed. Now, is there anything else to read to you? Yes, I got a whole pile of announcements for you. Franklin Buell, and he's here to tell you about his experience on becoming a notary public.
Well, there's a test that has to be taken to get notary public to be certified as a notary public, and the test is given periodically at different places in the state. New York, Buffalo, Rochester, all around. Some places as often as every week. In Elmsford, it's given every other month, once every other month. And it was scheduled in Elmsford today at 9, 11, and 1:30. So I went to take the 1:30 test. You don't have to register or anything or give them any advance notice. You just take them a check for $15. And then they let you know later whether you passed or not, and then you go ahead and get your certification. Well, I got to the records, the county, Westchester County Records Center in Elmsford about 1 o'clock, And I thought there was an awful lot of cars parked there. And I went in, and there were people standing there, and the county employee was saying that they had had too many people all day. They had 140 people come for the 9 o'clock test, and they can only take 60 at a time, so they gave them passes for the 2 subsequent exams today. And with what they had left over at 11 o'clock, they had 60 people already for the 1:30. And there must have been 40 or so people who came for the 1:30 exam. And they were quite apologetic, but one of the women said that there had been a seminar recently. 300 people attended this seminar, a one-day seminar. They paid $128, according to her, to learn about how to pass the notary public exam. And the county people, or the state people, of course it's a state exam, but it's administered here by the county. They said they knew nothing about, nobody told them that there was such a big outpouring for a seminar, and so they had no reason to expect an overflow, and as a matter of fact, they had never had an overflow before.
All you did was read the book, right?
That's right.
No public book.
And it's to be given in Newburgh tomorrow, and apparently some of the people were thinking about going to Newburgh, but they were worried that there might be an overflow in Newburgh. So far as Elmsford is concerned, their regular schedule is every other month. So their next time for giving an exam would be in January, and the date hasn't been set yet. But I was really surprised that there was so much interest in the exam.
So what are you going to do?
Bide my time, I guess.
By the time, you mean take it in January?
I guess so, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your report.
You're welcome.
That we won this landlord-tenant fight, Glendora versus Walsh, Pucci, and Larkin. This was 3 sets of neighbors who thought that they could trample upon all the other neighbors' rights to enjoy peacefully and quietly, and with their obscene language and their abusive language and all of their vandalism and harassment, repeated patterns of conduct expressly to annoy and alarm with no legitimate purpose. That is the criminal definition of harassment, Part 5. And that we won that. The courts were their usual crooked selves, the judges, and the judges were under the influence of powerful Wilson Babe, Koza Conboy, McGrath, Odell Karamitzel's law firm, and the judges wanted political favors from this law firm because this law firm put a lot of money into the party, and so the judge did anything that the law firm told him to do. Justice meant nothing, as it does in all the courts, so far as I know. And so that's a horrible case of violation of the 14th Amendment, equal protection of the law, and of the 5th Amendment, due process. So I have won the battle. Walsh is moved, and Larkin's moved. Pucci's are behaving, and it's really a nice place to live now. It was a battle that started on Easter 1993, and this is November 1996. It was a long, long, hard battle. Where does it stand now? What the judges did is before the clerks of the United States Supreme Court. I have filed a petition for writ of certiorari with the do-nothing New York State Court of Appeals. I took it straight from the New York State Court of Appeals to the United States Supreme Court on the basis of the two federal questions, the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment. So that battle is really won. Einhorn has talked to Hersman. They talked for an hour and a half. They're both internet and computer enthusiasts. Hersman used to work for Cablevision, just the kind of a person I'm looking for. If you know of any other people who used to work for Cablevision, let me know. Or who used to work for the Department of Consumer Affairs. I get a very bad impression of the commissioners of Nassau County. I know that James Picken is acting like a fugitive. He will not talk to us. He will not answer questions, because I want to investigate upon information and belief that he was the one, because I was giving true reports about his work in protecting consumers in Nassau County from consumer fraud. These reports were true, but they were very bad reports. And it was my information and belief and suspicion that there was conspiracy between the Department of Consumer Affairs or whatever public officials I was telling the truth about, who pressured Cablevision to take the program off TV because they didn't want you to hear these things. I don't get a very good impression of the commissioners of the Board of Elections. Neither does Newsday. I don't get a very good impression of the Commissioner of Senior Citizen Affairs, Iacona. I have asked her several times, what was it, 6 times, to come forth and talk to you, which would be a great privilege and should be a great pleasure. And she has found one excuse after the other. Trick or treat was pretty good. We had 33 people. Franklin took care of all of them. He was very, very good at it. And they had nice costumes, and they cleaned us out. And we were down to the next ones we were going to offer cookies to, but we had no more doorbells after that. Oh, the Federal Judicial Center. I told you how I read Discovery Problems in Civil Cases, a publication of the Federal Judicial Center. The Federal Judicial Center is very important because it's about the administration of the federal courts. But our problem is, as always, bad judges. It doesn't matter how many great reports you put out if the judges they don't have the integrity. And so this is their annual report, and it's a great job. And I'm reading that now. I think tomorrow I'll probably finish this. I've had this for a couple of years, and because the litigation has been so severe, I never have any time to do anything that I would like to do. I'm always in court fighting some crook, like Cablevision or TCI or Continental Cablevision, robbing us of our American rights and betraying our country. And they put out a great video on taking a case through the district court from beginning to end. They start with plaintiffs and their complaint, and then the defendants answer to the complaint. They even get into a third-party action, and the preparation for the discovery. Then comes the preparation for the trial, and then trying to collect your money after the trial. So this is a fine center. Don't let Congress do away with it for funds. Save the Federal Judicial Center. Don't let Congress do anything to it. The IRS agent said to Roger, I'm having trouble with your making a medical deduction out of $50 that you gave to the Tooth Fairy. What happens when ducks fly upside down? Brett Einhorn, what happens when ducks fly upside down? They quack up. Did you hear about the Chinese telephone directory? They've tried for years to publish a Chinese telephone directory, but they have finally given up. There are so many wings and so many wongs, everybody is winging the wong number. Leave Ginny alone. Ginny Cat doesn't want to be bothered. And you're a nuisance to her. What do you say we name him Oscar Bryan? Would that be a good name for him? I think he's 11 weeks old now.
Please leave Ginny alone. He's minding his own business. You don't bother Ginny.
So we have some jokes for you. You knew about the policeman who stopped the girl and said, "Your license says you should be wearing glasses." And she says, "I have contacts." He says, "I don't care who your friends are, you're going to get a ticket anyhow." And the warden said to Harry, "You must be lonesome in here. You never have any friends or relatives come to see you?" And Harry says, "Oh, no, warden. They're all in here with me." And the restaurant patron said to the waitress, "What flavor ice cream do you have?" And she said, "Vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry." And he said, "You sound hoarse today. Do you have laryngitis?" And she says, "No, just vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry." I think I reported that to you. Manhattan Neighborhood Network has given all of us public access producers the option of appearing on the internet. I say fine, go ahead. They just sent me a new notice that I want to continue to be on the internet. It was 36 degrees Sunday morning. The weather is changing, folks. And there's a gray cat. I put food out for the black and white cat, who I think may be the mother of this black kitten. And a gray cat shows up, and this gray cat looks so much like Ginny. So now we're feeding two cats outdoors. What were the legal papers of the week of October 28th, which was last week? Judge Bryant's madness, saying that there would be no trial until I appealed the insane decisions of Donald Silverman in the New York Supreme Court, Westchester County. Silverman's such insane decision, and I wrote an autopsy of that. Cablevision investigation, which are all up to date. The Federal Judicial Center, reading of that. I finished the discovery problems in civil cases, and I finished imposable sanctions for violations of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. I am now reading, and I read summary judgment in 3 district courts. It was the most boring book. And I am reading the Federal Judicial Center annual report. Next I go on to cost and delay reduction plan. These are things that judges should know and should do, and they don't do. I wrote a paper to Judge Jones, how Bob Magnus murdered TV production. I sent for a 3rd time to the United States Supreme Court a petition for writ of certiorari, TCI, John Malone, and the atrocious decision of one United States Circuit judge named Winter, which is not my favorite season, in Connecticut. Judge DiPaolo was served, Supreme Court Justice, County of Nassau. We served on the third time the United States Supreme Court the petition for writ of certiorari for Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin. The Judge Jones order came, stupid thing, signing my case from Manhattan up to White Plains, United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Notified all of the defendants that Rakoff is my new judge on Glendora versus Magnus, which is a lawsuit for $600 million that Bob Magnus robbed us of our TV production studio, and hence our ability to make a tape and hand it into a cable company to be cablecast, and thereby murdering our public speech. I mean our free speech. I made out a request for cable casting time to Continental Cablevision for Channel 19 North. I wrote to McCormick, who's the CEO of US West, who just bought Continental Cablevision for $5 billion. I wrote to him that he was in violation of the New York State Business Corporation Law and not providing to me, a shareholder, a copy of the minutes of the annual meeting. File, paginate, log, and mail Cablevision every week, and file, paginate, and log, mail TCI every week. Here's an urgent notice from the Manhattan Neighborhood Network that all of you public access producers must take note of, that New York City, all of this furor over the Fox News, Time Warner, Rupert Murdoch, Rudolph Giuliani, that the city, the borough of Manhattan, is going to start its franchise renewal talks, and that we've got to go in there and stand up for public access. The first hearing will be held on Tuesday, November 12th, 1996, between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. at Borough of Manhattan Community College, 199 Chambers Street, New York. And then the second hearing will be heard on November 21st. So we all got to get down there. If you can't get down there, you have to write to Walter de la Cruz, Director of Cable Television Franchises and Policies. And he's at 11 Metro Tech Center, Brooklyn. Here is a taxpayer waste of money, a thing called the Commission, the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. We are overrun with incompetent judges, crooked judges, politically motivated judges, and we have no place to go to take our complaints about judges except this mockery called the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. And I have no respect for Henry T. Berger, or T. Garrett Cleary, or Stephen B. Coffey, or Mary Ann Crotty, or Lawrence S. Goldman, or Daniel F. Luciano, Frederick M. Marshall, Juanita Bing Newton, Eugene Salisbury, Barry Sample, William Thompson, particularly William Thompson, or Albert B. Lawrence, or Gerald Stern, or Robert Tembekian, or Alan Friedberg, or Gene I guess it's Savagno. Nor Lee Clear. Taxpayer waste. I have a picture here that I want to show you. It was drawn by Brett Einhorn, and I think he's the cutest little kid. The Lincoln, my 1980 Lincoln Continental Mark VI, has gone 222,222 miles. We bought it new in 1980. The list price then was $25,000, which was considerable in those days, and I paid cash $17,000 for it. It's a grand car. I called the Fund for Modern Courts and I said, are you a court reform association? When are you going to replace the rip-off in the courts of court stenographers' fees and let us make our own record? And I told Alan Beck that, and he said it's an issue we should look into. They will do nothing. They're a sham organization, the Fund for Modern Courts, formerly headed by Elizabeth Hubbard, who lives in Huntington. And I sued her, and Alan Beck, and Michelle Mayapath, who lives also out around Huntington. Here's another letter from the Commission of Judicial Conduct. They are public screwballs, taxpayer waste, and I announced it on TV October 3rd. According to Richard Einhorn, Jeff Clark is not giving him the information that Einhorn is entitled to from the public file or the public access file, and he makes it very difficult for Einhorn to get it. Down with Donovan, do not vote for Donovan. I went out and rallied on the streets. No law, no merits, no facts, political hacks, political expediency. Do not vote for Dennis Donovan. And I think it's ridiculous that LaCava says he was endorsed by the Fund for Modern Courts, which is a sham outfit. Lee Jameson has given me this literature to show you about a person that he believes in who's running for President of the United States, third party, Mr. Charles F. Collins. Mr. and Mrs. Collins are both pro-life. Mr. Collins is a Christian and dedicated family man. He's a top honor graduate, Phi Beta Kappa, valedictorian, a Rhodes Scholar. He's a businessman, contractor, community leader, Florida's top junior colleges. He couldn't serve in World War II and the Korean War because of his age. He served his country by designing the civil defense program in his community. Strict constitutionalist, Charles Collins believes in personal sovereignty and limited federal government as outlined in the Constitution. Return our nation under God, one nation under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. End goals 2000 and outcome-based education, and let states implement a sensible education program that teaches phonics, reading, math, algebra, geometry, trig, calculus, government, and true history. Let me go see what the telephone is. I didn't make it, so call again. It's Monday at 5:04 p.m., November 4th, 1996, Anno Domini. This kitten at last is worn out. She's worn out everybody else, or he's worn out everybody else. So we have Americans for Legal Reform. If you have a problem with a lawyer, you call this number, 516-421-6390. There's a whole bunch of announcements that piled up. And, oh yes, there was this long, long article in the New York Times when a company goes bankrupt, the managers do just fine because of all these golden parachutes I've read to you out of the proxy statements. They do just fine. But who loses their retirement? The workers. Yeah, the workers. Here are some headlines for you, given to me by Richard Einhorn. Bungle deal costs Hempstead. A cunning attraction, Cablevision to air new 24-hour Fox News channel. Okay, Cablevision, when are you going to give us our own public access channel? A deputy NASTA attorney arrested. Isn't that terrific, folks? And this is what your courts consist of. And I want to find the picture that was drawn by Brett. That's terrible. I cannot find Brett, B-R-E-T-T, Einhorn. I cannot find his picture that he drew for me and that I promised him I would show you. Now how do you face a 5-year-old boy? Brett, I'm sorry. I will have to make it up to you. Will you draw me another picture? And I will show it to the people. That's terrible. It should be in this pile of papers. With the Cablevision law-breaking, lying, and covering up, taking 13,800 pages, it's no wonder that things get lost. Brett, I'm sorry. And I'm wrong, and I apologize, and I ask you to forgive me, and will you please draw me another picture, and I will show it to the people, because you draw very, very well. So how do you face a 5-year-old? It was awful bright light, isn't it? Yeah. You know what happened to Brett's picture? Huh. Your fur is very pretty. Yeah. You have very pretty fur, and you have very sharp teeth, and you have very sharp claws. See this? It's operating on a shoestring. Second grader came home from school and the mother said, well, what happened today in school? And the second grader said, we had a fire. And the mother says, oh, that's terrible. And the second grader says, well, I knew it was going to happen. We've been rehearsing for it for a year. And what do report cards teach a parent about, well, just what do they teach a parent? What do report cards teach a parent? You don't have to lift weights to raise dumbbells. And Harry was in the Oval Office and he saw a white phone, a red phone, and a gold phone. He says, what's a gold phone for? And they said, you can talk to God on that phone. Harry called up and he talked to God for 3 minutes. And he said, what do I owe you? And they said $300. A month later, he was transferred to Israel, and he saw 3 phones, and he said, yes, you can talk to God on the gold phone. So he picked up the phone, he talked to God for 3 minutes, he says, what do I owe you? And they said 30 cents. He says, I don't get it. I talked the same amount of time in the Oval Office, and it's $300. And they said, well, over here, it's a local call. This is the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. You see, the law says that until the franchisor appoints a third party to run the public access, it will be run by the cable operator, which is outrageous in the case here because Cablevision is doing such a bad job of running public access. And you see in Manhattan they do have such a third party, a non-profit organization, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. They put out the Manhattan Neighborhood News quarterly, and it's a very interesting paper, as I've told you. But I want you to here, folks, if you would, a statement of who we are. Manhattan Neighborhood Network is responsible for administering the public access cable television service in Manhattan. Our purpose is to ensure the ability of Manhattan's residents to exercise their First Amendment rights through the medium of cable television. You see, that's what we need in Nassau and in Suffolk. Through the medium of cable television, and to create opportunities for mutual communication, education, artistic expression, and other non-commercial uses of video facilities on an open, uncensored, and equitable basis. In providing services, we seek to involve the diverse racial, ethnic, and geographic communities of Manhattan in the electronic communication of their varied interests, needs, concerns, and identities. That's what we need in Long Island. Current services include scheduling and transmission of non-commercial programming on Manhattan's public access cable TV channels 16, 17, 34, and 69 on Time Warner Cable in Manhattan. I'm on channel 16 every Thursday at 8:30 a.m. I have been on Manhattan Cable TV since 1974. Isn't it amazing what the public will stand? Time on the channels is available to the public free of charge. Workshops in television production for Manhattan residents, special group and workshops in television production for nonprofit community organizations based in Manhattan, access to television production equipment to produce public access programs available to individuals and groups in Manhattan who have completed the requisite Manhattan Neighborhood Network training workshop. You got to say that Cablevision does a good job on that. What they don't do a good job on is we have no freestanding public access channel of our own. No more share telecare. Access to television production equipment to produce public access programs available to individuals and groups in Manhattan who have completed the requisite Manhattan Neighborhood Network training workshops. Revolving fund grants to assist nonprofit Manhattan community-based organizations in providing training and support to community video producers, individual grants for public access producers, individual production grants for community programming. For more information on how you can become involved in public access television, write Manhattan Neighborhood Network, 110 East 23rd Street, 10th floor, New York, New York, 10010, or phone 212-260-2670. Alexander Quinn is the guru. Now, if you want to know about public access in Long Island, we call Rich Heinhorn in Levittown. I want to tell you how many hours, how much life and body the law-breaking of Dolan, Tata, and Quinn have cost us to date. Here are the stats: $7,732.37 in print, postage, and rip-off court stenographer fees. 3,617 hours times $250 an hour is $904,250 worth of legal labor. 46 volumes, 13,814 pages, 5 file drawers of Dolan, Tata, Quinn law-breaking, lying, and covering up. 292 TV programs, a half an hour each, reporting the same. 2 years and 11 and a half months of the same, and this is the 327th mailing. New York is having its first public access producers party. I am going, of course. I have my invitation, and I'm allowed to take one guest, and that one guest is going to be Richard Einhorn. I would like to take Brian Sussman from Westchester, but they don't have room for all of my boyfriends, and Franklin will drive me there. And that's Thursday, November 7th. And after they have the reception at 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. in the Astor room of the New York Public Library at 42nd and Fifth Avenue, they will have awards. They will give awards to public access producers. I don't think that I will be receiving one. And so that looks to me like a lot of fun. That's the first one they've ever had. Teleprompter Manhattan Cable TV, which really became Paragon Manhattan Cable TV, which now is Time Warner, up on the north of Manhattan, used to have producers' parties and access awards. They did it like the Emmys. It was cute. This is the proxy statement of U.S. West, which is a Baby Bell, a Western telephone company such as NYNEX here. And on February 26, 1996, U.S. West announced a definitive agreement to merge with Continental, the nation's third largest cable operator, and it serves 4.2 million domestic customers and passes more than 7 million domestic homes. Well, what other homes are there? And holds significant other domestic and international properties. You know, U.S. West tried to buy Cablevision, and that did not happen. U.S. West will purchase all of Continental's stock for approximately $5.3 billion. Cablevision is worth about $2.5 billion, and will assume Continental's debt and other obligations, which amount to approximately $5.5 billion. Their debt is more than their stock. Consideration for the $5.3 billion in equity will consist of approximately $1 billion in U.S. West preferred stock convertible to media stock, and at U.S. West's option between $1 billion and $1.5 billion in cash, and $2.8 billion to $3.3 billion in shares of media stock. The transaction, which is expected to close in the fourth quarter of 1996, so far as I know, it is going to happen, is subject to a number of conditions and approvals, including approvals from Continental shareholders and local franchising and government authorities. We have not found in this book any figure as to how much we shareholders are paying for litigation costs. I'm a shareholder of this company too. Another thing is that Richard D. McCormick, the CEO of U.S. West, is in violation of the New York State Business Corporation law and not showing Glendora the minutes of the annual meeting, the minutes of the directors' meetings, the shareholders' book, and all of the other things that a stockholder should see. And so I think we're in the process of writing a lawsuit, a complaint against U.S. West, Richard D. McCormick, and Charles Lillis. What is happening in my suit, Glendora versus Hofstadter, who was the owner of Continental. I am waiting for Lisa Margaret Smith to make a ruling not to dismiss my case or not to grant summary judgment. No way can summary judgment be granted because there are pages and pages of disputes. These things have to go before a jury. They cannot be decided as a matter of law by a judge, and certainly not by a magistrate judge. That is a dispositive motion. It has to go to a United States District Court judge. So that is the report on Continental Cablevision, and I just have 1 minute left to wrap up the law-breaking, lying, and cover-up of Malone, Magnus, and Telecommunications Incorporated, Franklin brought home the fine news that Wendy Serkin has been fired. She is no longer with the company. She has raised havoc from the beginning. There's lots to report about TCI and its law-breaking and my 3 lawsuits against them. But there isn't any time this week to do that. Who are those people?
We'd like to next hear from Don Iarussi.
I wanted to start off by making a comment about these attorneys for Time Warner and replying that I think that Ted Turner and Joe Levin definitely have these alternate personalities that do a good job by themselves.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Okay. And a second comment is the New York Post has every right to inform the public about these hearings, and I compliment the New York Post on bringing awareness to these hearings. And I'm really saddened by the fact that Ruth Messenger has jumped on the political bandwagon and created a lawsuit to turn these hearings into a political circus. Time Warner, Turner Broadcasting,
Their art in public without restrictive permits. Document
This is
our
Dave
neighborhoods,
Channon,
our
who's a public
neighbors,
access
our
producer.
news. This is our way of preserving democracy.
Comments, and I will be submitting more written comments on the refranchising. Just to summarize, we're the nonprofit organization that was established between the Borough of Manhattan and the City of New York and Time Warner Cable, specifically to administer the public access
Time is
channel.
5:16
Our
p.m.
mission
The
has
date is
been
November 12,
to ensure
1996,
the ability
Tuesday.
of Manhattan's residents to exercise their
Manhattan
First
Community
Amendment rights
College,
to the
Borough
means of
Manhattan
television,
Community College.
create opportunities for mutual communication,
This is
education,
Walter Taylor
artistic
Cruz.
expression, and other
And this is
non-commercial
about the
uses of
renewal of
video
the franchise in
facilities in
Manhattan.
an open, uncensored, and equitable basis. By creating these opportunities, we've sought out to involve diverse racial, ethnic, and geographic communities in Manhattan in the electronic communication of their varied interests, needs, concerns, and identity. Since we began operating the public access channels
And that's Dave
on
Channon.
September 28, 1992, we've had over 3,000 community organizations and individuals who've provided an estimated 100,000 programs for cable cats. Future services, we are nearing the time we're going to be moving into our permanent facility on 59th Street, Hallelujah. This construction will be completed by the end of the year. We'll be moving in there in February and March of next year. This site will include a community studio, an open community studio, 40 by 40 foot, an enclosed studio with control rooms, exhibit studio,
Alexander
media
Quinn,
rooms, training room, meeting
Executive
space,
Director, Manhattan Neighborhood
extended
Network.
tape library and master control equipment checkout area, and also the studio will also be equipped with a projector system for community screenings. We also provide.
Yeah, I pressed it. Yeah, we're rolling. Good afternoon, folks.
My name is Glendora, and I wish to thank you for having these hearings, and I admire your stamina. First off, I'd like to tell you today's joke. What do you call a miniature guppy? Give up? A microfiche. I'm here to emphasize an aspect that has not been emphasized before, and that's the legal aspect of this. I am on 14 cable systems, and I was in the largest single system before Uptown and Downtown became one, 450,000 subscribers. That would be Cablevision of Long Island, Woodbury. That's all of Nassau, Huntington, Islip, and Babylon. It's a big system. And I was there telling the truth about certain politicos. And Cablevision, in its ignorance and arrogance, took the program off the TV and violated two important laws that I wish you would keep in mind. Title 47 of the United States Code, Section 531E, which is no cable operator shall exercise editorial control over public use of channel. And the state analog is Article 28, New York Executive Law, Section 829.3, which says no cable operator shall limit or prohibit a program designated for public channel. Now, I sued them, and this happened to be in the Supreme Court of the state of New York in Westchester County, and Judge Donald N. Silverman ruled that plaintiff has a statutory right to be on TV, and she must be returned to TV. They took me off in November, exactly 3 years ago, folks, Veterans Day. And they had to return me on, that was 1993, and they had to return me on 1994 September, and I've been on ever since. And I continue my truthful reports, which are all bad, about the Nassau County politicos. This case also went to the United States District Court. I think I've had them in every court there is. The United States District Court, the Appellate Division, Second Department of the New York Supreme Court, the United States Court of Appeals, Second Circuit, and the United States Supreme Court. They have really finally capitulated. They've really given up. They've stopped trying, and they've written me a letter saying they've stopped trying to take the program off of TV. They have not paid the damages yet, and I sued them for $31 million. They've all been served by the United States Marshals. Charles Dolan was a guest on a chat with Glendora. Gerald Levin was a guest on a chat with Glendora in years back. I've been on Manhattan Cable TV 23 years. I wish to emphasize again the legal aspect of this. And I feel very strongly about this. It is a fact, people, Mr. De La Cruz, if you will remember, that it is a congressional mandate. Congress is a lawmaker in this country, and they made the law, the Cable Act of 1984, that we shall have our electronic soapbox. And this is reinforced by the Empire State. And there are laws here, and if anything happens to our public access, I will not hesitate to sue Time Warner. I will not hesitate to sue the City of New York if it doesn't look out for our public access rights. Again, I wish to thank you for this open forum. It's the very heart of America. I was in the United States Court of Appeals today, and Judge McLaughlin says, well, Glendora, how do you know that a cable operator can't exercise editorial control over public use of channel? I said, because it is an act of Congress. And he says, well, how do you know that Congress hasn't changed that? I said, well, they had their chance in 1992 when they revised the Cable Act, and they didn't touch 531E. They had their chance in 1994 with a new Cable Act, and they didn't touch 531E. And Judge Cabranes says, Glendora, are you saying that because Congress knew about what was happening to you, that they didn't change the act? I said, no, I really don't think that, Judge Cabranes. We thank you very much, and again, your stamina is appreciated.
Thank you very much. We'd like to next hear from Aristides Duval.
Thank you very much. I'm a public access producer, have been producing for over 10 years, since before the regime of Alex Quinn and MNN. And I'm not satisfied with what's happened. I feel that many producers have been singled out due to their creativity or because of their political outlook or just because of their point of view or sense of humor, and harassed and hassled and stopped and dealt with in an improper manner. I think that both Messenger and Giuliani are political heavyweights. They both have an axe to grind. I think they should both get out of it. I think that Turner and Fonda should not be merging with Warner. I think there should be an antitrust effort waged by the United States. I think Murdoch, who is a foreign national, has entirely too much say in our media and politics in New York. So you see, I don't really go for any of their message. And as far as Ruth Messenger and Alex Quinn, I can say that they're interested in busting a union, busting the Public Access Producers and Artists Alliance, which I formed. And I think they've done everything they can to sideline us and to act as if we don't exist, including I really would like to ask a question as to why a 2.5-page article was printed in the Village Voice giving Larry White and Dave Channon such a grand focus when actually all the ideas were stolen from our organization. In fact, Dave Channon at that time was a member of our organization and had been publicized as being a member of our organization. I remember a lot of things happening here in the system. If it's so great today, and I know there's hundreds of shows on, how come it's so banal? How come so many people are tuning us out? Okay? Maybe our taste sucks. Maybe we have no taste. Maybe we're not advancing culture. Maybe we're not keeping pace with technological innovation. Maybe this city really needs to clear the cobwebs out of its mind. You can't drive across the city without getting hassled. You can't, I mean, can you function in this city correctly? Is the quality of life what we want? We should be promoting shows that help people. My shows have run more PSAs than any other show in history. Okay? Why were my shows taken off by Mr. Quinn? Because he personally doesn't like my shows. He had no reason or right to take my shows off, and I will sue. And God bless Glenn Dora. Okay? I'm a Glenn Dora fan. Okay? Really, you've never met? Well, then before
stands for itself. They have cost us $7,732.37 in printing, posting, and rip-off court stenographers' fees. Got to get rid of court stenographers. 3,617 hours of our lives, and you multiply each one of those hours by $250, which is what antitrust, monopolistic, lying liars get, lawyers. So if you take 3,617 hours, multiply it by $250 per hour, they have made us do $904,250 worth of legal labor. They have 46 volumes, 13,814 pages, 5 file drawers of Dolan, Tata, Quinn, law-breaking, lying, and covering up. 292 TV programs, a half an hour each, reporting the same. 3 years of the same, 327 mailings. And that is the log, and that will go to Charles Dolan at 1 Meteor Crossways on Thursday. It will get up there. Do you know how you spell Dolan? D-O-U-G-H-L-A-N. What has to be done? This should be over. It should have been over long ago. But there's still a whole lot more to be done. I have to write my shareholders' proposal. And I have to have that in by December sometime, or maybe it's January. But I know what I'm going to propose, and I know how to write that. And then I have to get out, my petition to re-argue. Bryant, very crookedly, Judge Bryant, United States District Court, Southern District of New York and White Plains, very crookedly stayed the trial. I had all these crooks coming to White Plains to be heard by a jury. And Bryant stayed that trial. He never should have done that. The case is 3 years old already. And so I appealed that dumb decision by Bryant at the United States Court of Appeals. They, not being any more honest than Bryant is, upheld his ruling. So I had submitted a 25-page petition for re-argument en banc before 25 judges. Not just before 3 judges in the United States Court of Appeals, but all 25 of them. And so my petition was 25 pages. It should have been 15. So I had to write a motion for permission to file an oversized, an enlarged petition for oral argument en banc. And they okayed that. So now I'll wait 2 or 3 weeks, and of course they say no. And so then the next step is to take it to the United States Supreme Court, and they won't even look at it. And but you have to go through all the steps. This is all you have. This is all you have. So you have to do it. A notice of entry was served of Silverman's dumb decision. Silverman really didn't rule against me. The appellate division, motivated by the crooked politicians in Nassau County, the same people who took the program off the TV in the first place because I was telling the truth about them. Those people in Nassau County, the politicos, were pressuring the appellate division to overturn Silverman's decision that put Glendora back on the TV after Cablevision took Glendora off and broke all the laws. They wanted Silverman to say, oh no, I was wrong, Glendora has to come off TV again. Well, Silverman didn't do that. What he did say, he copped out of it by saying, well, I really don't have any jurisdiction over this. It's up to the Public Service Commission. There's no way they can take me off TV again. I have the address out there, 1395 New York Avenue, Huntington Station, New York, 11746, area code 516-425-0304. They just can't take me off of TV again. If they did, I would just sue them all over again for violation of free speech, hardcore political speech, and that again is Title 47 United States Code 531E. All right, so that a petition to re-argue an enlarged petition has been granted. And the notice of entry has been served on the Silverman, and then I do Cablevision investigations every day. I investigate people, and they tell me all kinds of things. And people are spilling the beans on the inside of Cablevision. The New York statutes, I'll have to bring that over to you and show you that. This is a lawsuit in the making against Cablevision, against Cablevision Systems Corporation and its management, Charles Dolan, James Dolan, and John Tata, and against its board of directors for waste and mismanagement. It is not good management, and it is not what prudent men would do, or women would do, to break laws, federal and state, and then pay a lawyer to lie and cover up for 3 years. So that's what this suit is all about. And this much of it has been read and written, and it looks to me like there's this much more to write. So you see it's over the hill. And here is the lawsuit. That much of it has been written, and that's 21 pages so far. And it's deeply into the New York Business Corporation law, which was written in the main by Nelson Rockefeller. So that lawsuit has been in the back of my mind for maybe a couple of years, but now it is being written. And the thing is, to file it, it's got to be filed in federal court because the state courts are hopeless. The Supreme Courts are anything but supreme. And maybe it can be this way by diversity of citizenship. Cablevision, of course, is a Delaware corporation, and I am a New York resident. So maybe through diversity of citizenship, we can file it in federal court. A lawsuit that is in progress is the censorship of a chat with Glendora on October 4th. I was telling about Dolan, Tata, and Quinn, the crooks that they are. They were given $370 subpoena money by Franklin to come. The statutory fee is $40 a day, and to come to White Plains, travel $30 from Woodbury, $70 a piece, 5 people. $350, I guess. And when the trial was called off, they didn't have to travel. They didn't have to spend a day away from their work, but they went and converted the money, the $350, to their own use. Now, if you had been called for a trial and the trial had been called off, what would you have done with that money? You would have returned it to Franklin. That's what prudent, honest people do. But if you're a cable operator, you're neither prudent nor honest. So what did they do? They put it in their bank, in their discretionary fund, which shows no discretion. So that lawsuit is in the making. I'm going to appeal Bryant's decision of when I told him that Silverman had made his decision, and I want to go back onto the trial calendar, which is my right as an American citizen by the 7th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States to say nothing of Rule 38. Of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Bryant really made a fool of himself and said that he wouldn't take anything but an appeal. I had to send him a notice of appeal of the Silverman decision. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Bryant, I'm not only going to do that, but I'm also going to appeal your decision to the United States Court of Appeals. Third time that I've taken you there. And further, I'm going to write a grievance about Bryant to the United States Court of Appeals. It's called an action 300, Article 28, 372C, when a judge interferes with the business of the courts. And then we are having the minutes transcribed with another bad judge, Dickerson, on not ruling that Cablevision had to give us back the $350 that they stole. Oh boy, our court's wonderful. Tuesday, Election Day, we were in Long Island all day. We went to the Board of Elections, and nobody could find a file, or nobody would even look for a file. That would be Beth and Bob Barrett. Access Committee. And so they are flexing muscles there as citizens of the state of New York through the Freedom of Information. I asked for the Cablevision Yes Yes Committee, and Beth says, well, he told you there told me any such thing, and he is Bob Barrett. So I don't know anything about that. So we got no satisfaction from there. The people in the county courthouse, in the county clerk's office were all loafing, and of course James Picken across the street was loafing. Glendora went to Hicksville, and she is very grateful to do the editing there. I was there 5.5-hour programs. I didn't have as much time as I would like to practice the Chiron, but that is coming great. I'm reading Mike Zaluta's book, and he's written a very, very good book, and I did exactly what he told me to do. He says you have to make a chart of your pages, what page. So he's written a really good book here on the Chiron. And I love the Chiron, and I think it's a great machine. It's a VP2. If at any time the Chiron beeps at you, look at the bottom of the screen in gray on black letters to see what you did wrong, then press cancel. If the Chiron happens to freeze up, look up or not. And back on. That's what you have to do with people. Remove the disc before. Only after the Chiron. Stop. 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 Right. Where is this? Stop. Where are you now?
such a beautiful thing is going on in there. I just wanted to show you what you're in for. All right.
You know what it is? It's called, yes, but it's even better than class. You're gonna flip out. It's even, yeah, I did it already.
You know, it's warm in there. You guys know that, right? Yeah.
Would you get,
It's not good for the machines to be that warm. Well, if you step out here, you can go. Fred, close the door.
Yeah, well, they're editing, you're editing, this one.
Check out how warm it is. Oh. Nobody disagreed with you in there. I heard that.